Good evening. I would like to welcome all of you to a special council meeting for the City of Washougal this evening, Thursday, May 17th. I ask that you all please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Rose, could you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Russell?
Here.
Councilmember Plinsky? Here. Councilmember Greenlee?
Here.
Councilmember Lindsay?
Here.
Councilmember McDaniel?
Here.
Councilmember Shoemaker?
Here.
And Councilmember Freeman.
Here.
Thank you. Before we get started this evening, I want to make sure that we make a couple of announcements so everybody knows what the flow of the meeting is going to be. As a special meeting of the City Council, we have some parameters that we need to stay within for the purpose of the meeting itself. That being that the meeting, the topics of the meeting can only be those for which it was called and those for which it was noticed in the agenda put forward. So there is a little bit of leeway or different ways that you can read the statutes themselves in regard to what happens during the meeting. For sure, we know that any actions taken this evening, if there are any, can only be on those items that are within the agenda and those items that have been properly noticed. There is also I guess for lack of a better term, a rule of thought that even the discussions within the meeting itself need to stay within the parameters of what are in the agenda. And I've had a chance to speak this evening with the city's attorney on the matter as well. And he concurs that most likely we are in the best stead if we keep all comments having to do with the items that are on the agenda listed under new business, and that we don't stray from those even in the public comments. So to give you an example, even questions during public comments, during any comments and discussions back and forth in regards to the Open Public Meetings Act, in regards to the calling of the meeting, any of those type of things, I'll rule out of order and will stay to the agenda itself. We're just going to take them that they're outside of the scope of the meeting, the purpose of the meeting as it was declared, and move from there. That's not the end of it for you, though. If there are comments that you want to make that you feel may not be appropriate given what I've just said or what I may rule during the meeting, you are certainly more than welcome at Monday's regular council meeting to return here at 6 o'clock and make those comments as well. Just because they're not appropriate this evening given the scope of the special meeting itself and what we're allowed to do under state law doesn't mean that you don't get to make those comments at some period. So with that, I'm going to open the floor for comments from the public just to get started, see if there are any just general comments in regards to tonight's meeting and the topics in there. And beyond that, I think we're going to move into some general discussions and a little bit of back and forth. So it's going to be a little bit different than what we do for our typical meetings. Mr. English, is that close to, you think we've got ourselves covered?
I think so. We haven't had a lot of special meetings over the last number of years. The statute's pretty clear that we have a time and we have a place for the special meeting. We have the business to be transacted, which is stated in the notice that was sent out. I think we should proceed.
Okay. With that, I'll ask if there are any members of the public that wish to address council in just general terms. Okay, seeing none, we have an item of new business that has 3 items associated to it. Those items are described as faith-based organizations and nonprofits, open mic discussion regarding the following questions. What is your organization currently offering the citizens of Washougal through services or programs? What are your future plans for your organization? And how would you like to work with the city to assist the citizens of Washougal? So with that, I will open the floor to anyone that would like to come forward. If you would, come to the microphone, give your name and address, and we'll see where discussions take us.
My name is Rich Blum, and I'm a pastor at Bethel Community Church, which is at 1438 B Street.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this. Really, I think this partly was instigated by my approaching Connie Joe, I think at one point, and saying, it would be fantastic if we could be before the city council and express our interest as a fellowship of pastors. I've been in a fellowship of pastors. Several of them are here. 7 or 8 of them are here. And it was our desire as we were talking about things, I can tell from my own personal viewpoint that I feel like we failed the city. We haven't come alongside and served the city. And if anything, I feel like we need to ask forgiveness for the city for not serving the city as we should. So just as a group and fellowship of pastors, we said, can we get before the city council and just ask, not what you can do for us, but how can we specifically serve you? And so what we would love to do as a fellowship of pastors, united, is to do more to serve the city. Just come alongside the city. And we're absolutely fantastic if more people join us in serving the city. It's just a desire as a fellowship that we have to come before the city and really help us, I guess, in that. We can come up with all sorts of ideas. Well, we think the city needs this, and we think the city needs this, and come up with one thing after another and miss the mark that we're trying to hit, which is to serve the city based off of what the city needs. So the purpose in getting before you is to say, what is it that you need and you desire from us so that we can come alongside you and serve and meet some of those needs. Resources that we have as churches, resources we have through congregations that serve in the area. So that's really the desire and the heartbeat of why I think that we're here, at least as the fellowship of pastors that have been meeting and talking about this. So I present that. That's really my desire, our heartbeat. My desire especially is, please, if you are willing, allow us to serve the city in some way, to come alongside you, not to do anything secretive, not to do anything underhanded at all. Simply coming legitimately saying, can we serve the city in some way? Can you give us ways that we can serve you? So that's our heartbeat.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. So some of the struggles that we have in the city, and I know that the mayor and staff and other council members can add to this list, but probably the most urgent, most striking thing that we see that is affecting our residents is the water sewer rates. It is because of the state mandates that have been placed on us, we have had to increase them. I think it's 150% over 5 years. I think was that the total?
170?
170, over 170% over 5 years because of the state mandates. If we do not follow what the state is mandating us to do, we will then have to, we'll go, basically kind of it's like a default, and the state could come over and take over our water system and so forth, and which would be a really disastrous situation. One of the issues we're running into is how do we help those that are low income wade through this in particular, and those on a fixed income. Those are questions we're grappling with now. We have a water study that's out, and we have a few other things that we're waiting to hear back on, and I know that the mayor's been working to develop a plan as well. But from a monetary standpoint, or even just from an idea standpoint, that's one of the biggest struggles we have in the city, and our residents are feeling the pinch in this economy with that.
And something I know that would be helpful, I don't know how much I should be speaking, let me know if I'm out of line, okay. But one thing, a lot of the churches do help people that come to us, and we do give assistance at this time. One thing that I know helps us is we get so many people coming out the street, we don't know what's legitimate and what is not. If there's a way for the city to say, hey, here's some ways to tell what the real need is, or here's even a list of things that we think are legitimate or concerns, I think that would be helpful, but I think that is a way that we can come along and help us to give assistance, and certainly to talk about that as a fellowship and how we can help.
Thank you.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
Do you currently help people with their utility bills if they come to you? Do you have a process for doing that?
We do. I can speak for our church. I think each of the churches can speak individually. It's very common for us to get requests for help. In our particular case, we take a special offering once a month to help with just the needs in the community. And we do distribute those needs both within the church body and the community, but also into the community at large. It's not uncommon for us to help with rent or with utility or something of that nature. There's only so much we can do, as you can imagine, but there is a fund set aside for doing that. So we are doing that. We're doing a number of other things too. I think one thing the Fellowship of Churches has been doing in this group is even the Compassion Clinic you may have heard about, where we're allowing people to come in and are receiving free medical help. We're doing that once a month currently, and that's Bethel hosts it, but the churches do that together combined. There's a number of volunteers from various churches that put that together.
When you help someone, do you help them, do you give them financial aid directly, or do you, like, if you're paying a water bill, pay the city or pay the landlord?
That's what we will do. We will pay the bill to the city. There's very, very few times when we would give money out, simply because we might not know the people and we don't know where it's going. We want to make sure it's going to the need.
Thank you.
One of the other kind of general problems, I think, is that there are a number of our people who are suffer from physical or other limitations that make it difficult for them to cope with some of the day-to-day living problems, whether that's cleaning up their yard or cleaning their roof or getting their house painted or taking trash out of the house and getting rid of it. We've started to do a little bit of that, but it's surprisingly difficult to identify the people in need. And so that's another way that I think if we can stay in communication, we can try to find ways to help that process along and open the public works yard to get rid of trash or whatever it takes. But some of those things, I think, I was stunned at how difficult it is to identify those people.
And I think we can relate to that. I think we relate how difficult it is to identify people. If we could work together to identify them, we have the people resources between the churches, youth groups to go in and certainly help in situations like that.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Can I just ask a question of order? Is it just Pastor Rich at the mic, or are there other people that can come up and answer these specific questions? Because I know it's not the normal, this is like an open mic, open forum, so I'm just saying that for folks in case, for myself first, and then since you're saying yes, if there's anybody that wants
We're going to be
to
pretty flexible.
address these specific questions, just hop up and push him out of the way. I dare you, I dare you,
Gently.
6'8" guy there.
My name is Dennis Fuquay, and I'm not a pastor here, but I'm officially representing Scott Jones at Calvary Community Church, and I have been a pastor in other cities and such, and the ministry that I direct takes me to other cities. And when Mr. Greenlee made the statement request that you made, it caused me to think about what's happening in Boise, Idaho, that there, like in many cities, a real issue is code violation.
Yes, exactly.
And what the mayor of Boise and a few cities around have done is they have worked out an arrangement with congregations to make what can be a bad situation into a win-win. That if you go to the people and say, you've got to clean up your house or else, that doesn't work very well, okay? But if you can somehow communicate to the pastors or the churches about a specific need, then we could go and we could say, would you like it if we, and built the fence or moved the car, whatever the thing is, you know. And so that's just a specific illustration of something that has happened in other cities that perhaps could happen here in this city as well. And I think the key thing would be if, I don't think we could initiate the specifics on that. I think we couldn't go and say, because there's a code violation, but if whatever the process is followed, if the city sends something out to that person, then maybe there could be a suggestion, or you could contact us and we could take a step or something like that. So that's just a specific illustration of something that's happening in another area.
Great. Thank you.
Dennis, could I get which church you were with?
Calvary Community Church.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah.
question.
Yes.
Who would be the lead if there was a need noticed? Who's going to be the contact person among you? Somebody's pointing at you. It's the tall guy again. Okay. It's good, thank you.
My name is Jessica Wheeler. I work for the Salvation Army here in Washougal. We're a church as well as a social service organization, so we're really here both as a faith-based organization and as a nonprofit, really because we serve people in both ways. I'm the social services coordinator for the Washougal Salvation Army. I just wanted to share a few things that we currently do to help the citizens of Washougal and Camas. Right now, we do food boxes for low-income people. We have what we call a blessing room, which is basically a free thrift store with clothing, smaller household items, and the like, that anyone who lives in the area, we really don't restrict it at all. Anyone can come in and shop for no money. They can take anything for free, yes.
Is that at the facility where you
Yes.
hold church?
It's it's in our office there
Okay.
at our address over on I Street. And they can take items for free. Really, we don't limit how often they can come in. We can help with utilities. We have a certain budget that we can spend every month. And it suffices for all types of utilities such as electric, but we can also help with water, sewer, garbage as well. That falls under that same budget. So we certainly can help out with citizens who are in that type of bind. And even if the city knew of a particular case that was in trouble, they could certainly give us a call, and we could try to work them into our client base and try to work with a particular client if perhaps they approach city council or the city and saying, I just can't pay my water bill, the rates have gone up. Certainly give us a call and we'll see what we can do for them, because we do have some funds that we can spend on that type of thing, and we want to serve our city however we can. When funds are available, we can help with emergency lodging, a night or two in a hotel room. Those funds are very limited. With the new fiscal year, those funds have gotten very small, so we mostly have to refer to the emergency shelter clearinghouse when we encounter people who are in a homeless type of situation. But when funds are available, we do help with that. We help with different seasonal kinds of assistance, Christmas and Thanksgiving boxes, which can include food, toys, gifts, etc., back to school assistance, and just basically whatever kind of tailor our needs to whatever needs we see coming through our office that people are needing help with. And we would love to work more closely with the city and with, along with the other churches, to do whatever we can to make sure we're hitting the needs that are most necessary in our community. We would love to partner with the churches if we know of a family, like an older couple that needs help with yard work or et cetera. Anything that we can do along those lines would be great, and we just want to let the city know that we are there for you, and we are your Salvation Army, so let us help you.
Thank you.
Questions for Jennifer? Jennifer, thank you. Thank you for what you're doing in the community. Yes.
I'm not sure who to ask. Do we have any idea of what the homeless situation in Washougal is? Is there?
I don't have any numbers, but I do know there's more than I would like to see. I know there's people that live right under the bridge, right by where our facility is, especially in the summertime. And I wish there was more that we could do about that. I wish that we could open a homeless shelter out here in East Clark County, because the closest thing is downtown Vancouver right now. So there really is a need for that, and I would love to partner with other churches and other organizations to try to do that, but nothing exists in East Clark County as of now for that. But there is the need.
Okay.
I just wondered, how do we get food and clothes to you? Can we just bring it straight down
Definitely.
and just give it directly to you?
Yeah, or you can give us a call and we can pick up items, both food or clothing. Our operation is unusual in that we operate almost primarily from donations. We don't get any real state funds or a lot of other funds, but just the generosity of people in our church and just people from the community. We have people that come and bring donations of food every single month, just knowing that There are people around them, you know, their neighbors even, that need help with that type of thing, and so they want to just do what they can. So yes, we do accept donations of food, clothing, all of that. Yes.
What are your hours
Our
for
hours
drop-off?
On Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays from 10 to 5. And you can also call our office and arrange a pickup or arrange a meeting time if it's outside of those hours.
Do you go so far as taking things like vehicles? I know, like Portland Rescue Mission, they take vehicles that need working on. Do you have a program of any kind that works?
Locally, not really. I mean, we can, on the rare occasion we don't have really a program in place. The Salvation Army does have an ARC program that's run out of Portland, and they do accept vehicles. But
Does that benefit Washougal, though?
Not usually.
It goes into the
directly, but,
general fund.
But we probably could work with, you know, if there's a special case that a vehicle was in, you know, fairly close working order, we probably could try to work with, you know, the donor and find a needy recipient.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Great.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Is it Jessica?
Jessica, yeah.
My name's Joe Levesque. I'm with the American Association for a Better America. Our objective is to make America a better country. Our country is sick and it needs help. Our motto is, in God we trust, right makes might. If it's wrong, you don't do it. I used to know this country when it was a free country. It is no longer a free country. I've been here for about 10 years. I saw so many opportunities wasted because of the attitude that people have. I want to show you what happened, what caused it. I'll tell you the problem. I'm going to try to give you a solution. I put a lot of time and a lot of work in what I'm doing. On the side, in case you're asking me what I'm doing right now, I have a solution to the national foreclosure problem. I've been all over the map with this. I've been at it for 4 years. I wrote to Washington Mutual, the CEO of Washington Mutual, President Obama at least 10 times. The name of the program is All-American Financial Aid Relief Program. I know for sure that it can work. The reason I don't have an answer from these people is because I'm asking for one piece of paper, a conditional memo of agreement. And the conditions are, if they decide to use the All-American Financial Aid Relief Program, they agree to pay a 1%. The 1% that's collected goes right back into the community. And that's pretty good stuff. And if they can prove that my program won't work, I'll walk away. And it's only condition, only if it works. Right now, Congressman Jamie Herrera is working with me. She's trying to set up a teleconference with me for somebody in Washington. These people in Washington are worse than you guys sometimes. Boy, they make me mad. It's awful what's happening. Our country's going to hell in the wastebasket. I'm going to show you what's happening and what's causing it, and I'll tell you the solution. Our country started with the U.S. Constitution. Beautiful. You people have an opportunity right now to do something about this. How you do it, I want you to pray about this thing. Because these people died for this country. This is not a joke. I'm not on an ego trip here. I love my country. That's what's motivating me right now. Now, let me tell you what happened. When they formed this country, most of the guys believed in God. They believed in this Bible, but they didn't want to bring in church and religion together because everybody has the right to believe whatever they believe in. So that doesn't mean that God doesn't exist. Right now we're living with a lot of stuff that they say science approved global warming and all that. Now these scientists are proving all this stuff. From what I can see and from what I know, from what I'm experiencing, it looks like the biggest scam that's ever been pulled on the American people. The science is saying that global warming is here. You know what? It might be. But what are we going to do about it? Now, if the scientists can prove that God does not exist, let's listen to them. If they can't prove that God does not exist, let's listen to what the Bible talks about. I'm not talking about a church here. I'm not talking about religion. Now, let me tell you how
Joe?
things got screwed up.
Joe, I need to have you confine your comments just to nonprofits, organizations.
I am a nonprofit.
Joe, I need you to confine your
You don't want
comment.
me to finish because
Joe, I think you came in late, so I want to make sure you know what the rules were for the discussions this
here's
evening.
what's causing it right here.
Joe?
No, you listen to me now. I'm talking.
No, Joe, we're not going to go down this road. This,
You guys want to listen to me, or don't you?
Joe,
We want to hear things that are directly associated to Washougal. So if you have something that specifically
Right here.
talks about
They're
Washougal
telling
in
you how to
general.
run your city. They're telling you how to run your city. You should be telling them how to run your city. Tell them to leave you guys alone and run this community the way it's supposed to be, like a free country. You're being dictated to by the powers that be.
Joe,
Okay, I'll go sit down now.
it's okay. Do you have a copy of the agenda itself?
Yeah, what else you want to know?
Just look at the 3 items that we've got on there. Those are the 3 items we're
All right.
discussing tonight.
I think I
So,
discussed them.
okay,
I tried to bring in $5 million to this community,
I understand.
and you guys turned me down. $5 million that I was going to give to nonprofits, and you guys turned me down. I didn't like that. It took a long time to do it. You people are not, you're catering to the wants, not to the needs. This community has a lot of needs more than they have wants.
I would agree with that.
Anyhow, I don't know how far it's going to go here, but I might need your help later on what I'm doing. So I don't want to get you guys too mad.
You're not going to get us mad.
He's fired up. Just
Feel free to
slightly.
stay in the audience, and I'll give you another opportunity to come up as well. Okay, thanks, Joe.
You forgot your constitution, Joe. Your mini constitution.
People died for this.
Amen.
My name is Kelly Backstrom. I'm the lead pastor of River Rock Church, 2008 Southeast 8th Avenue in Camas. I want to echo what Rich was saying at the beginning of just the potential that we have to help people in the city and the city itself. River Rock, our Camas Washougal location, about 2/3 of the people who attend our church are citizens of Washougal. And we really have a heart to help people in need. We've had occasion where we've been contacted in that exact situation where somebody couldn't upkeep their yard and the city had asked them to improve it and they couldn't, and so we came out and helped. And I think it was great for our people. We love doing that. And I think the significance is to know that there's literally hundreds of people, maybe even over 1,000 that we could call for big projects. On June 3rd, our church is canceling church that day for 3 hours. We're going to go out and serve the community, and we'll have over 400 adults doing projects throughout Clark County. The truth is, it is hard to find the right projects. It's not that there's not people in need. It's that communication going forward, that when you need something done, you know who to call. And we have people that are willing and able. What we've had to do is find projects throughout much of the rest of Clark County where they're mostly nonprofits. And we're not against that. Matter of fact, I'd love that. We're not trying to create our own. We want to come across with other nonprofits or people who are already doing something, and then just help support them too. And so I really think the potential is to unite together to meet some needs significantly, not just even lightly. I know that cities are under huge constraints budget-wise right now, and I think sometimes people are afraid to ask for help, thinking that it might be demeaning to ask citizens to come out and help. I just think there's a lot of people that are willing to help significantly, put in significant hours, and we have people from all types of trades that can do just about anything, whether it's roofing, building ramps for wheelchairs, reconstruction, painting, whatever it is. And so we just want to offer a significant amount of help if you need it, and find a way to communicate going forward to where you have somebody you can call, and we're willing to respond.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions? Connie, Joe? Kelly?
Well, this
Not
is
that
kind of
quick.
a, it's kind of a legal question, but Are there liabilities if the city says to these organizations, you know, we have a project? Is there any problem? I would hope not.
I don't think so. I mean, I don't see that as a big risk. I mean, there's always a risk of lawsuits, we all know that.
Yeah, true.
I think it's a minor risk, and I think it's more a risk what we're taking. We have very good insurance coverage through WCI Insurance, which is a cooperative, different communities, but I don't think it's a big risk at all.
And each one of these organizations is covered too, I'm sure.
Same way, we've done
Yes.
it where if we're having a set project as a church, our insurance covers them too.
It's certainly not something we should use to scare us away. I think
No.
it's a.
Good.
it's a-
Yeah.
Now, what about city projects, literal city projects? That's probably something that only city employees are allowed to
Well,
work
you get
on?
into union issues there. You
Ah.
have too much volunteer stuff, but I think it's something, there may be things that it's not regularly done by city workers that it's outside the scope of what they ordinarily do that possibly could be instituted.
Because one of the ideas I've had is, you all have, well, some of you have youth pastors, and they're young and energetic, and we have lots of parks. And I'm thinking, get these young guys and girls out there at the parks and run some summer rec programs
Yeah.
as volunteers. Could even apply towards their college credits, or, you know, it could just partner in a lot of ways. And I just didn't know about legalities, again,
We
if
don't offer any recreational services, so I don't think
So
that's
wouldn't run
something that
afoul
we
of
would have
that.
any problem.
there's no conflict.
I don't think that we would be taking over a union.
Mm-hmm.
position doing that, so.
Great.
From our perspective, it's as you consider ideas or things of need that come up, there's a huge resource out here of people who are willing and would love to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And so it's how we can serve you and the city. And so I think you guys are the eyes and we're the hands and feet that can do it.
Jennifer.
I'm sorry.
I did have a question regarding contacts. Rich, Pastor Blum, you said that you would be willing to kind of be the
Yeah, I would be
the main
happy.
contact?
Yeah, I could be a contact, because we get together a couple of times a month as far as a fellowship, and other people can join us too, that would like to, and I'd be happy to be a contact.
Okay, that's great. Now, were you contacted by the city when we were talking about our strategic planning, and did you get information from the city?
I don't remember any.
Bethel
contact.
Community
It's just
Churches
strategic
and-
plan.
Okay, okay.
But would welcome that.
Okay, fantastic.
And-
That would be
and
great.
What Kelly said, I think was excellent, that you're the eyes and we can be the hands and feet. You know, I'm thinking, when I had someone come to me today who runs our food pantry, we have a food pantry, we just give out food. She goes, we have too much food in our food pantry.
Oh.
Well, that's a
Too
problem.
much food?
We have too
Oh
much
my
food in our
goodness.
food pantry.
Okay,
We
dinner
need
at
more
Bethel
food.
tonight.
So, you know, I'm thinking.
I work at St. Anne's. I get a lot of phone calls. I'll make sure I
Yeah,
send
see,
them
and
your
we
way.
to work with St. Anne's, and we have a lot of food. So, you know, you can be the eyes, say, okay, I know somebody needs some food. We can get it to them.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Thank you.
I think one other thing that we might facilitate here is, I mean, obviously, you've got an ongoing fellowship, ongoing contacts, which are primarily in a pastoral community. And if we could kind of expand that community to include, well, I see Bridget is here, so the Children's Home Society over here at the Social Services Building, I know that they have a food bank, and that they primarily stock that food bank every year with Stuff the Bus, but that's not enough. And so if there's some way that we can provide a bit more coordination, I'm certainly open to any suggestions on how we could make that work.
I think this is a good starting point, because we need to work on the coordination. I may not have all the answers, but we need to coordinate. You know, St. Anne's knows people who need food, and we've got food, and, you know, it just seems like we can work on it. And same thing.
I can tell anytime somebody's on the edge of their chair, they've got something right now. John, we're coming back to you in just a second.
I wanted to, Merrill Cabin, this is my name, and I'm the pastor of the Riverside Seventh-day Adventist Church, 463 Shepherd Road. And of course, had new building projects, so we've been working with Mitch quite a bit and on that. But I wanted to especially, Councilman Greenlee, to talk to that, because basically, I used to pastor in the Orange County area of Southern California. one of the things I was impressed with when I started pastoring there is that the social services department had put together a list of resources in a binder that they gave to all the faith-based organizations and other organizations that were nonprofit. And we were able to have that resource with us, and we could look through when people would come to us. Because one of the things that I know as a pastor, and I know the pastors here, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I mean, in other words, if there's already a food bank, or if there's already somebody serving that, I want to scratch where it itches. And I know that our people want to, because oftentimes that's what happens, is we all do one thing, and then there's all these other things that don't get accomplished. But with this resource book that we would receive, it was a binder that came out of social services. They coordinated this whole thing, and they just put all this resources. Then we could see who was available, and if someone comes to us or comes to you, we have that resource. We can say, well, call St. Anne's or whatever, and they'll be able to help you, or Salvation Army, or or the Bethel Community Church, or whatever, because here's what's going on. And really, I think that's really, as I have met, and this is only the second time that I've met with this group since I've been here, I've been impressed that we don't have any agenda except to serve. That's what we want to do. And most of our people want to do that as well. So that's why I think if we could kind of coordinate and have the resources, and all the people that are in here, all these organizations could list what they do and what they offer. And talking about young people, we have had the last two summers, we've had what we call a sidewalk ministry. Is what we do is we go into Hamlet Park and we put on a program there. Our young people put on a program every week for 6 weeks, bring the kids in, feed them. We actually provide a meal for them, give them some good programming that entertains them, as well as teaches them basic, wonderful, good moral lessons. And it seems to be a really big hit, because the kids keep coming, as I see them, and some of our people who live in that area, they keep coming and saying, are they coming back this summer? Are they coming back? So, and we have 80 to 90 kids that come every week to that. But I can see this happen, getting volunteers like that to go to parks all over our city here and meet those young people, because a lot of those young people don't have, maybe they're, latchkey kids where they just come home, and in the evening time they don't have any entertainment except for, what the trouble they can get into. And to have something organized for them is really a tremendous idea too. So anyway,
That program at Hamlet has been very well received. I know we get very positive comments about that, and I believe if you ask our Parks Director, she's already started getting calls this year already on that one. So I think she was looking for paperwork coming through, but hadn't seen anything yet.
One of the things is our challenge is that we don't have the funding for it this summer. It runs about a $10,000 budget for us to do that during the summer, which is because we have college students who really actually run the program, need a summer job, and that's what we have provided.
Gotcha.
And the food, it costs about $2,000 or $3,000 to do that, to feed them. But it's a great program, and I know that they have really impressed. We're just keep praying that the funding will come in so we can keep doing it. So anyway, any other questions?
No, I just was crossing my
yeah,
fingers.
John, you had a
like
question a moment ago.
Sounds like we
gonna-
need a fundraiser here.
As the next speaker, whoever wants to come up and talk, I'll go ahead and ask this question for the community at large, and maybe if there's anyone who has an answer to this, it'd be great. Is there an ongoing youth program for teens in Washougal that deals primarily with maybe those that are in more troubled areas, maybe more teenagers, maybe latchkey kids, as we mentioned in the last pastor? Is there something that does that on a day-in, day-out basis within the city? Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know about one day in and day out. There is the Young Life program has expanded from Camas and Washougal to Washougal as well. And I believe they meet in our community center on the Mondays that we have council meetings as well.
And I think that that's one of the major issues too. I mean, we're no different than any other city in this regard, but we do have a drug problem, and we do have an alcoholism problem, and an organization that would be available to be present where some of the trouble spots are in the community would be a huge relief.
I just wanted to speak to that. One of the things that one of my members who has been working with NA and AA groups has told me that that's one of the problems is we just, in the last month, we've lost 2 young people to overdose here in this community. And that's one too many. And I've seen that happen over and over again. So I would like to see what we can do for those young people, because that's just, so that's why I was thinking this resources is really would be really good.
And in response to that, Community Services Northwest provides drug and alcohol interventions for teens at the center on an ongoing basis, and I'd like to follow up with them and see if the funding would expand to providing something like a support group, which in the teens' case would be activities, once a week or something.
Yeah, even if it was like maybe,
Yeah.
3 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the park. I mean, something, presence.
Check on that. They're amazing, and sorry, I'm Bridget McCleeman from Children's Home Society, and we run the family center across the street. And this is really exciting, and I want to invite myself to your next meeting so we can talk. Because a lot of what we've been hearing is really, it's a question of communication. I mean, this is an amazing community for over the street there. We have people walking in with things to exchange all day long, and we have families walking in who need things. And I think you're right, and sometimes those two don't connect, and sometimes people don't ask when they really need it. And I think somebody else said something about some of the hope going out of people. They just hear about budget cutbacks. They think there's nothing there, but I think we work with about 16 different church groups who bring stuff in all the time. We connect with St. Vincent de Paul around bus passes and food, and St. Anne's has been very good with us over the years. So everybody is coordinating, but there are some things that we don't do very well, and some of that cleaning up the yard or emptying the trash cans. I know occasionally we've been able to pay the city to have the city empty a dumpster or bring a dumpster somewhere for somebody who's just over the top. But we don't have much of that sort of money. We're a nonprofit. We have state funding for very defined programs, which is not the sort of exchange that goes on across the street. And so having a sort of, I think there was something in the paper by the group that you were setting up to do those sort of chores. That would be invaluable. We used to in Battleground have a community board where people proposed what their needs were, and people who had stuff to give away could post that as well. That's another option. We work with the Seroptimists who do a lot of estate sales, and they have furniture and china and that sort of thing. We don't have storage for that sort of stuff, but it is really neat to be able to phone them and say, do you have any china for this family? They've just moved here and they've got nothing. So those sort of resources in the community. So it really is connecting up the resources that seems important to me. We do a lot, when you said information and resource manual, it's my pet peeve these days, because paper printed things go out so fast, and a lot of organizations get funding one day and then they're out within a month. So you're sending a family to ask somewhere where the resources are already gone. And there's really nothing worse for families than to have to keep asking 20 different places for what they need. And they know they have to paint the very worst picture of their circumstances that they can to access resources. So it's not nice, it's not very empowering, it doesn't make them feel good, it's not starting them on a pathway to success, but there are a lot of resources now online and access things that we should share. So I just wanted to say, if people want a place to do an exchange, that's a really good place. Like, families come in there all the time. The computer lab's always busy. We serve, we do children's clothing, we don't do adult clothing anymore, we used to. And we fill emergency food baskets, so we're not a food bank, it's just above that level. And we do a ton of, we have an online system for accessing, signing up for Social Security and checking whether you're eligible for food stamps, all that sort of thing, and somebody to help. And it's totally hard to get funding for the person who's gonna help. The city's been really good over the years, but we know that money is shrinking slightly, but we're there, and I noticed there was another question on here, your plans for here. We want to stay here. We just love this center. I mean, it's one of the most satisfying communities to work in. We want to expand services. We're actually bringing out more mental health counselors, kids' mental health services, and it's interesting that being there and it being a stable place. I know this Columbia River wants to increase the number of therapists out here, and we do, so there are more services for the schools. So I think it's a good center as an exchange, so I'll shut.
No, but.
No, don't go away.
Just don't sit down,
I'm
Bridget.
next.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Jennifer, did you have
Oh,
something?
yes, I do. Thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was going to get to be first. I wanted to talk about the food baskets and the fact that this particular service is replenished with the SEPTA bus. Is that correct? Yearly,
We
and then
do.
throughout.
Stuff the Bus is amazing, and everybody here should come that day, because watching these kids unload the buses, they have a chain going, and it's the most satisfying thing to do. We found last year that lasted us very well, along with the regular donations from the churches, until about April. And then
Oh,
we
that's
start
not
getting
very
tight,
long.
and particularly tight over this. It gets worse by September when, people are ready for Stuff the Bus, but it hasn't happened yet. So,
Okay.
yeah.
That's
And the
usually
other-
done around, just for Christmas, isn't
Well,
it?
First part of
I think
December.
It was
around
wonderful, that's right, it was in the parade,
Yeah.
Yes.
Camas versus Washougal.
Yeah, once they got done with the weigh-in, they came right back and backed right up to the center and started there.
It was better this year, I think they did it per full bus.
Right,
'Cause
right.
when
Can
they
you
did
talk
it
a little
purely
bit?
by
Sorry.
weight, we got an awful lot of potatoes and things we don't love.
Don't laugh.
Potatoes, they weigh a lot, though.
Oh, I get the technique.
We didn't
Uh-huh.
I get the technique
You better be
now.
riding on the Washougal bus
Uh-oh.
this year.
I do, I drive for Camas School
I
District.
know,
And I
you-
live in
you were
Washougal.
on the
I've been
Camas bus
conflicted.
last
So
year.
Bridget, you still want Washougal to win, you just want us to win smartly.
Absolutely.
Cans of corn and beans weigh the same as a potato?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I have one more question, and that is about the weekend backpack program. Can you
Yes.
talk a little bit about that, because St. Anne's has been involved in that in the past, and
Yes.
I think that I don't know if the other churches in the room or nonprofits in the room are, aware.
Yeah, we started this, I think, a couple of years ago. There was an amazing counselor at Hathaway who was truly wonderful, and she left for a while, but she's back, which is great. We provide a backpack for kids that the counselor has identified may be in need of food over the weekend. And we started off with just a few, and we keep adding, and we could add more. Last we checked, we're doing about 30, which is a bit beyond what we planned. The Soroptimists have been really good at supporting that program, and we take them, or the school picks them up, so that we don't, the kids don't have to come to us for it. We fill the backpack every week. One of the things that we found, though, it's really not just the kids that need the food, so that we're finding family, she wants family orders for some of these people that can't get to the center. So what started off as a backpack of things that you could pull tabs on and open easily and not cook is sort of spreading a little bit. a challenge, but it's great. And it's also nice because it provides the counselor with a way to talk about referring them for more services and access and things at the center. So.
Right, and these are students that qualify for a free and reduced lunch, is that correct?
Yes.
At the different schools?
Yeah.
Mainly Hathaway, I think, isn't that correct?
I think the average income of the families we serve, and that's a family, is probably under $1,700 a month. So we all know that doesn't stretch very far. Some of those are families of 4 or 5 people.
Thank you.
Connie Jo?
It's great to meet you, Bridget. I haven't been over there, and I've heard about you, and
Renee is the star over there.
Renee, okay.
Nice.
I heard from a girl named Camille. Is she part of your group? Camille, hi. I see you're on the edge of the
She's
seat.
coming. She's
Well,
coming.
here's one of my a couple of things. We talked about coordination, and you brought that up, Bridget. It's another idea. The city has a website. I don't know if this can be the avenue, because printing, you know, like you just said, it's so outdated so quickly. Somebody who could manage inputting into the website resources.
We'd be better off with a Facebook page.
Facebook, yeah, something online,
The problem with
electronic.
websites is, you know, it's a pretty labor-intensive thing to keep them updated. The 211 system that we've all been paying for with cell phone taxes and things like that do have an online resource that you can have right on your desktop, and what that gives you, the name of the organization, and you then, it's best then to phone to see what they have.
I see.
You know. But I think our services are listed on the website, which is great. Thank you.
Well, I don't know if Camille's going to want to hop up and answer this, but I have a 22-year-old son, and he has lots of friends, and their comment is, there's too many drugs in Washougal. And we talk about teens a lot, and that young adult crowd needs activities. They get bored, and they can be goofy just like a teen. They need a lot of interaction.
I was just going to tell you the county has a new focus out in Washougal.
That's Camille. Great.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Bridget.
Thank you, Bridget.
Good evening. My name is Camille Sari, and I am a coordinator with the county. I am coordinating a new project with them for prevention money that's been granted to Clark County. They are now selecting 2 sites within the county to focus efforts on, and Washougal is one of the communities that's been selected. So this is specifically for substance abuse prevention. So to answer your question directly, what we will be doing and what we've started doing is we're building a community coalition where we will look at the youth substance abuse problem and build a strategic plan based on a public health model to address all of those issues. So hopefully at the end of that planning process, we will have some things in place for youth to keep themselves engaged, as well as do a lot of this connection within the community that we're hearing tonight of, you know, just needing to connect the resources that are available and bring everyone to the table. So the goal of this is really at the end to provide a lot of community connection. So I wanted to come here tonight to represent this coalition that's being built and let you all know that we are on our way to hopefully coordinate some really cool stuff in the community. So thank you for having me.
Camille, which department at the county does that go through?
I'm a contractor, but it's with community services.
Okay.
And this money is from the State Division of Behavioral Health and Recovery, which used to be DASA.
Questions for Camille?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I answered your email today. Good. It's a hot mic.
Yes.
You should line people to speak into the mic. Had some people can't hear when they're speaking up here.
This one, just for the speakers, this one you literally have to almost put into your mouth. Ours, as you could tell, are working a
It's
little
hot,
too well
yeah.
when we turn them up, so.
That one you need to pretend it's an ice cream cone.
All right, I'll lick it.
No. I'm Sarah Russell and live at 1431 D Street here in Washougal. And I just wanted to expand a little bit on what Rich already mentioned, the free clinic that goes on once a month, so that you all know the services that are available through that. And we're hoping to continue that and expand it. So in June, it will have been 1 year that Compassion Chemist Washougal has been effectively operating. We provide medical services, and we have had several opportunities to have a mobile dental unit there as well. So we have provided some dental services and also a free meal, oftentimes doing haircuts and foot care or nail care and massages. We have also had a little bit of an impromptu clothing table and quilts and those kinds of things that people can just come and utilize those services. And then we also have a number of pamphlets and things like that for other resources in the community, primarily health-related or social service-related opportunities for those that come to that. During our medical clinic, it's for the most part, it's real basic, urgent, and family care, but we have dealt with things like diabetes and other chronic illnesses, and try to also connect them with further resources to improve their health in the long term. So I'm working with the dental van that in the future is probably going to cost about $600 each time we have them out in order to replenish the supplies that are utilized for that. They have come 3 times free of charge, and I'm so thankful for that. But it may be that in the future we need to work together with the other nonprofits to help fund that so that we can continue to add that. It has always been a major need in this community that I have seen as I have provided medical care the past 3 years in our community, 4 years in our community. So, thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay.
When is the clinic? Oh, every 3rd Saturday of the month from 10 to 1. So the next one is this Saturday.
And it's at Bethel Community Church.
Is Bethel?
At
Bethel Community.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Dawn.
My name is Dawn Tarzian. I'm superintendent of the Washougal School District. I want to thank the city for coordinating this effort to unite our efforts as a community. It's deeply appreciated, as is the year you've given me to get my feet on the ground. And so thank you for letting me speak here tonight. I did want to share that we participate in the intervention grant as a school district. We contribute $10,000 towards that grant. And with that money, we were able to have an intervention specialist at our high school and at Jemtegard who does drug abuse preventative work with our students and works with our staff to help them understand how to support kids with that. In the 2nd year of that grant, we received a meal to help with this community organization, but it certainly provides maybe a very nice model where with the level of interest we have in supporting our community, that perhaps in partnering with someone that can help us organize the resources, that might be an idea for the future. I did want to share that the school district, I think, does an incredible job at providing opportunities for kids beyond the school day during the school year, ranging from sports to theater to orchestra to band to choir, equestrian club, medals, culinary arts. These things all have competitions and practices and things that keep kids engaged. Those things primarily occur during the school year, however. And so we have those summer months where we're not in session that I think we really should take a look at. And we know that most parents have to continue working during those months. And so it does create a void, I think. The middle school level is probably a very important one for us to consider as a community. Just about everything I mentioned happens at the high school level. We've cut many of those extended school experiences at that middle school level, so that real critical developmental time, young adult time, I think there is some needs there. We have a summer free lunch program that we offer at Hathaway. And I'm sure the community would be surprised to hear that over the last 2 summers, we've only had 8 to 14 kids come to have that lunch. There's a lot of analysis that's going on this summer to try and change that, including serving lunch a little later, trying to get our community education program, robotics program right before, and to get a reading program set up after. We also think that if we would be able to serve parents who come, now that couldn't be free, but you know, to bring your child and sit there while they eat can be, you know, not be the best experience for a parent. But I'm intrigued by the offers that I've heard, because I think that that free meal could be, you know, is a need, and it's just not being accessed like I know the need exists to have happen, so.
Don, that meal's on a daily basis during the summer?
Daily basis.
During the
It runs
week?
for approximately 4 weeks. We could run it longer, but quite honestly, the district has questioned the value of it. And my experience in the past has been just the opposite, where you can almost bring in half of the children who qualify for free and reduced lunch all through the summer. So I think that's, you know, that's got a great solid platform off of which something could be built to bring in more families, so. And then our community ed program, I think got dangerously close to being considered by the board as something that might not be sustainable. We've done a lot of work this year to bring the program back into the confines of the budget so it doesn't have to be supplemented as much by the district. But that includes an after-school child care program, preschool program, and then the classes that the city contributes towards the adult and student, you know, activity classes. And so we charge too much for our after-school child care program. I think there's a real need for child care at a lesser expense to parents, and what an asset to be able to have them stay right at school when school is out. So I'd love to see us address that. All of those great programs I mentioned for high school kids have fees associated with them. So most of the fundraising that we do goes towards providing access for kids who can't afford it. But then who buys the cleats and the uniform and all of the rest of the expenses that go along with many of those things, there's, I think, a need. And even with scholarships, I think that can be a barrier for kids who are embarrassed to come if they don't have the gear that they need to have when that activity happens. So anyway, I look forward to partnering with you and to bring in the resources of the district into closer partnership with the city as we tackle these problems for our families. So thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Don.
One of the things I'd like to mention real quickly, based on the, I know that when I've been in practice here, the sports physicals and buying or having the money for sports physicals for the youth has been a challenge. And so I'm willing to spend another hour or two at our June Compassion event to do free sports physicals for the youth in the community. If that's something that would be of value and that we can coordinate, we should be able to offer that to our community. And my hope, my dream for this community is that we might eventually have a hub and someone designated to be the kind of liaison person for all of the needs and the resources in the city, so that instead of people going from here to there, like has been mentioned, they would all be sent to one place, and that person would be able to coach and help them through to the different areas of meeting the needs that they have. So I hope that we are able to continue to coordinate the needs with those who are really ready and willing to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Good evening.
Hi, I'm Roy DeRosie. I'm the co-chair of the Friends of the Washougal Community Library. Our role is to support the library in any way we can. We have fundraisers where we raise money. We donate money to several programs that the library has. It's hard to separate what we do, but some of the programs that the library has that help the community is it has a Jobs Help resume program. They have a laptop that people can use to do online applications for jobs. They coordinate lists of resources for the community. It partners with the Children's Home Society. It also partners with local schools and different programs. The Friends donates money to the summer reading program that they have for children in the summertime. We've given furniture to the library. We support special programs that the library has in the community. The library also has programs for teens. And we'll partner with anybody who would like to work with us. Right now, we're having preliminary discussions about developing a new library for Washougal. If you've been in the library, you know it's a great facility. It's a wonderful staff. The staff is the most friendly and helpful staff I've ever run across in the library. And we'd like to see some sort of new facility, and we'd like to work with the city to do that. And we're at 1661 C Street, as you all know. But that building has been there since 1981, and as you know, Washougal has grown a great deal in that time, and we've really outgrown the facility. And to offer the kind of programs we'd like to offer to the community, we just need a bigger facility. Do you have any questions?
Okay, Joe?
Just curious about whether it be the Friends of the Library or school district or who might be available for tutoring. I know Rich Blum mentioned that they have people that are ready and willing to tutor. Again, I'm always saying this, but I have a boy that's medically deemed as retarded at 22 years old. He still needs coaching and reading. Lots of kids need help in reading, so tutoring programs, just wondering.
The Friends doesn't do that, but Chris, do we have programs
We
there?
serve the sides, we're always looking for volunteers, and that's another thing where we wish we had more space so that we could accommodate more. Yeah, we're always looking to be able to match.
Would you be allowed to do it off-site at a place if there were volunteers and match them up with students? Okay.
We have space.
Sorry?
There you go. Bridget has space.
Bridget has space. Okay.
And we'd like to extend an open invitation for anyone to become a friend of the Washougal Community Library. It's open to everyone in the community.
What is that program?
The Friends of the Washougal Community Library.
Mhm.
It's the group that supports the library, and we support them by giving them funds, or we run the book sale that's usually held in one of the buildings downtown, and all the money that goes from that then is donated to the library for whatever programs they want to put in.
Good.
Roy, Chris, do you have another meeting this next week?
Is that last Thursday?
Yeah.
It's Thursday at 7.
Let's make sure that Dave and I get probably with both of you to bring you up to speed on the discussions that we've had in the last week. We want to make sure and let the folks down in Vancouver know what's happening in the right order, but cool.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen?
Just back to the reading thing, I have ones entering school, learning to read, and I was gonna ask Dawn as well too. I'm like desperately searching for stuff for the summer to keep, my kids on track, and I'm struggling to find stuff, and I just want something local. I always feel like I get pulled into Camas for camps and summer activities, and I wanna stay.
Chris
Is
can
there-
answer that.
yeah,
much
is
better
there-
than I can. I'll
If
let
there's
you do that.
tutoring around, I need to be there for my kiddos.
We're looking for volunteers to match, but we also have a complete selection of books that are specifically to help readers at different ages. And every Thursday for 6 weeks this summer, we have a summer reading program where we're paying for people to come in and do a really interesting, entertaining, educational program focused on reading, and then we give each kid a packet, and when they fill out each square by reading 20 minutes or being read to, or doing another literacy activity, then they come back in and they get a certificate and a little prize and things to go on the fridge. So all summer we're just full with things for kids. So come on down. All right.
Okay, Joe?
Are there any groups out there for special needs adults? I'm curious if anybody here would represent that group, or where we would go for help with special needs adults. Anybody? Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name's Leah Greenwood. I'm the Executive Director of Affordable Community Environment. And so some of you, I recognize.
Can't hear you.
So I need to move it up or get shorter.
I know, the longer neck.
We're a nonprofit based in Clark County, and we develop and own affordable rental housing. So some of you may be familiar with the project we have in Washougal. About 2 years ago, we renovated what was formerly the Bethea Park Apartments at 4300 Addy Street. The apartments are now called Gateway Garden, and if you haven't been by there, I'd say please go by. A couple of things besides renovating the apartments, which in and of itself I think was a real positive for the neighborhood. But the other thing we've done is added some services for the residents. That particular community is a very low income community, and so we've brought in a resident services coordinator who really sits down and works with all the residents who need assistance. And it could be anything from connecting with food box agencies for the organizations that are here already. But it also can be sitting down with someone and figuring out, okay, what's their barrier to getting a job? Worked with one resident in getting their tickets paid so that they could get their license back and could get a job. And it was exciting to see the transformation, that just helping them realize, we can overcome this obstacle. This is how we need to do it. Other issues of helping people maintain their home, helping them navigate through the benefits process, and just providing some additional supports. Identifying when some of our young residents really need additional supports from other community members if maybe they're not getting the support they need at home. So we really have tried to create a supportive environment. And for some of our residents, it's a stopping place, and they move on and they go out in the market, and in some cases, we have quite a few that are looking to purchase homes. And so that resource is there continually in the community. We're really excited about getting more involved, one in the whole Washougal community, but more specifically in the Addy Street neighborhood. On June 9th, we will be holding a safety fair at Hamlick Park, and we're partnering with the police department and the fire department to have, and that's open to the whole community. We've done safety events at all of our residential communities, but this year we're opening it up to be more a bigger, larger neighborhood event. One of the other things we're going to be doing is for homeowners in the neighborhood, we'll be partnering with volunteers to go in and install fire detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. And part of that is just, to give back to the community that we're serving in, but also to understand what some of the other needs are in that neighborhood. I know I came in a little late, but it sounded like there was a lot of talk about needs for folks that weren't able to maintain their home. And so those are some of the things where we want to be part of that conversation with you. We don't want to duplicate what other folks are doing. So it's trying to figure out what role can we play, what role do you want us to play, where do we fit in well. For the future, what we're really looking at in the near future is we're hoping to purchase the Town Square Apartments. Town Square Apartments are located at 2900 H Street, and it's an existing low-income community. And our hope is to really do what we did at Bethea Park, do the physical renovation, but also do the management and the people and the supportive services, and bring those to that community as well. And from there, build broader networks in the neighborhood around H Street. And that's our goal is, we're coming in, we're starting slow. We're a small organization, but we want you to look at us as the organization that can be a partner with you on what the housing needs are in Washougal. We don't meet all the needs. There's not everything we'll be able to do, but we want to be part of that conversation with you. And so where you see a role for us, invite us in for the conversation. And what I'm excited about is to hear all these organizations that are doing great work. I, of course, will be calling them all. I'll be giving I know my resident services coordinator's already been in contact with many of the organizations. And But there's a lot more depth and breadth here. And I think the notion of the resource directory, whether it's a directory or just something where we all know what each other's doing, and it can be as simple as my staff person, Kim, being able to call, well, I know this church really is able to provide this service, and so I'm going to call, and knowing who to call. Because it is hard when you give 20 numbers. And a lot of times we give 20 numbers and it's, I don't know if they're going to have money. The nice thing is for our residents, they have a home and we're able to meet their basic needs. But we do have 32 units at Gateway Garden. We have a waiting list of about 70.
7-0?
70. In Vancouver, total we have 198 units and a waiting list of 2,000 households.
Okay, Joe.
Yeah, my son's been on that waiting list for over a year. Can I get a phone number?
Yes, well, let me, a couple of things.
You got a business card you want to hand
Yeah,
out?
what I'll do is, I'll actually leave, I can bring some business cards up
Great.
that have both my phone number, our office phone number, but also the phone numbers for all of our communities.
Good.
I do want to invite anyone who'd like to attend. We'll be doing some tours of Gateway Garden. We'll do it tours whenever, if you want to call, and I'll come down and give you a tour. But we're having some smaller formalized tours. The first will be July 25th at 4:30. And the second one's going to be August 29th at noon.
And where is that?
And the address is 4300 Addie Street.
Oh, my son's best friend lives there, so it's very nice. I go there all the time.
Good.
To drop him off.
I'm glad. Well, I will say, when we finished the renovation, one of the residents, a young man, I think at that time he was 18, came up to me and said, "This is the first time I've ever invited a friend home." And that kind of made us realize why we do it. The first thing people asked us to do when we took over the property was change the name. We're embarrassed to tell people where we live. I said, well, I can do that. A sign doesn't cost very much.
What about crime? So often it's associated, and I'm assuming that's part of what that 18-year-old boy meant.
In their neighborhood?
In your specific,
I can tell you that if they were here this evening, any of our police officers would be ecstatic about this young lady and the programs that they have brought in.
It's wonderful to hear.
I know you still have some funding left to try and tie up in regards to the town square
Yes.
apartments. And I'm sure that both the chief and our commander would be more than happy to write from their perspectives letters on your behalf for those as well. I'm glad Leah was here tonight, because that is an address that, from the time those apartments were built, were one of the frequent flyer addresses that you just knew once, twice a night, the calls were going to get dispatched there. And now it's 0.
Really? Good. I mean,
I don't know that it's 0, but
probably
it's...
not 0.
it's-
I know it's not 0, but.
It's near nothing.
Well, we are an active owner. The manager that we have on site.
I was just going to say,
is
she runs a tight ship.
She runs a tight ship, and there is a balance of compassion and accountability. And that's, which sometimes is a fine line. I will say we're a strict landlord. And I think it's important, because we care about the safety of our residents, and we don't want anything compromising the safety of our residents. And what we found is it's a very tight-knit community, that there are pros and cons to that. But we have a lot of people with eyes on the community, and when something's wrong, they'll call. And so I know they still get calls, because we tell them to call if something's wrong. But that is a big piece for us, is affordable housing is so often looked upon negatively, and it shouldn't be. And we've had a lot of success in our other communities. I'm happy to hear that that's what we're seeing here. I like to think that's the case, but I don't know what happens after a certain hour. We've been real active in our, for instance, in Vancouver, we've been real active in a recent development that we did, which was new construction. And I'll tell you that when we came into the neighborhood didn't want new low-income housing. But they helped us design it, and part of what we brought to that community, the Fruit Valley neighborhood, was a Boys and Girls Club that partnered with us in the development, because their big issue was they didn't want more low-income housing, because they didn't want more low-income teens that were coming home to empty houses. And so once we really recognized what the need was. And I think that's the same at Gateway Garden. A big piece is finding those after-school activities for the kids. For the most part, we have young kids there, but we do have, that middle school age is very hard. So I want to invite you to come. I'll leave some information about the tours we're having of all our communities, because I'd love for you to see also the quality of the new projects that we've done. Think about how you want us to fit in, just as Washougal grows and what the needs are. I'll probably come to you regarding the town square. And so I've been excited to hear the support that the community and the city's had for that project. So I'll definitely need that support going to the state.
No worries.
So, thank you.
Yeah. I have a quick question for you, and it might actually need to come from the resident coordinator, because I don't know if you're there often, but is there anything mentioned regarding the community garden in Hamlet Park, and if that is a benefit or if that is...
We actually have our own community gardens as part of the apartment
do?
community, yes. And
Oh.
so our resident, we actually have a resident that has a plot at the park, I know that, but that's because her needs and desires are bigger than we can fulfill. But we do have at least 10 garden beds at that community. We have a brand new one that we just put in that we designated the community garden for the kids. And so we're working with the kids on planting that community garden. And I'll tell you, we used to have some issues with little hands being destructive with plants that were coming. Well, once you tell them it's theirs, and they have a task of taking care of that garden, I think after 2 weeks, we got a call from one of the kids that she's just turning 5 this month, and she was ecstatic the peas were coming up. The peas were coming up, and she was out there guarding. They're also out there guarding their worm bin that they have, and they feed their compost to the
Excellent.
worms. And so those are a lot of the elements, fun elements that we try to incorporate, but we do have community gardens at every single one of our communities, and that's the first easy thing we'll add to Town Square. But the other thing we'd be looking at Town Square is to reclaim the community room at that building and bringing some of the programs that we have at Gateway out to that community as well.
Will you also be renaming the town square if you do purchase that?
I don't know.
Well, we have a town square in Washougal.
It has an E at the end. Does yours have an E
I
at
might
the
need
end?
another name.
Well, I will say we just filed legal documents to name the entity that will buy it, but it hasn't come up. My sense is that community doesn't have the same reputation that Bethea Park did, and so my guess is we won't unless someone says they want it.
Bethea was known by the name.
Yes.
2900H is known by the address. Don't know why, but
I do. You can tell just by driving by.
yeah.
I mean, it's pretty stark contrast between how, not now, obviously. Now Gateway eclipses Town Square, but before, I mean, you can tell. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to shift the emphasis to seniors.
Yeah.
And it's more for this group back here because you all are supportive of the seniors. And I'm Wayne Pattison, and I guess you could say I'm representing the Loaves and Fishes, Meals on Wheels, and Washougal Senior Association over here. They didn't send me to do it, but
That's okay.
I'm very involved with them, and wanted to thank the city. That happens that this is one time when the city can and does be very supportive because you're providing a facility for us. And I'm happen to be one that doesn't think government can do everything, and lots of times can't do everything as efficiently as faith-based and nonprofit organizations can. But they can certainly use government support, and that's what we get over here. But for this group, one of the things that I found, and I've only been a community member for 6 months, came down from Alaska and was very involved in senior programs up there. And up there, seniors somehow gravitate and become very involved, maybe because they have to. Here, I'm absolutely amazed at the lack of numbers that come for meals. The Meals on Wheels program, of course, continues to grow because people are housebound and they need it and they find out about it. But we've got some incredible meals over here every day, and there's maybe 20 people. And I've been out talking around, and I found a gal just the other day that's handy, and this is an answer for you. We do handicap. C-Trans brings people in their wheelchairs, and they come. And there's one lady that's over there, probably, I'm gonna say from 9 o'clock in the morning till 2 or 3 in the afternoon, because she doesn't sleep at home. I think she's got a security issue at home. She comes and we've got a recliner for her and she sleeps. That's where she gets her sleep. And then she wakes up for a meal and then she goes back and sits in her chair and sleeps some more. And she feels secure. So we're prepared over there to support handicap things. And this lady that I found, actually over at One Stop, was running around on her wheelchair, and she just moved up to California. She had absolutely no idea what to do. I mean, her kids had insisted she move up here, but she was lost. And we got her to start coming to the senior center, and she's ecstatic because she's never had that kind of feeling of support as a senior. We've got one gentleman over there that claims that he's so old that he was around when the Dead Sea was just ill. So.
That's good. I've never
But I
heard
do
that
want
one.
everybody to know that meals are provided over there 5 days a week, and, 4 days here and 1 day in Camas, but essentially 5 days a week. And that if somebody's, one of the things that we need to be sure that people understand is that Loaves and Fishes will provide meals at it's a donation thing. If somebody can't afford it, they can have the meal. No, there's absolutely no, in fact, there's a little box around the donation can, and you can't even tell if you're donating or not. So certainly spread the word, folks, because I know there's people in this community that need that kind of support, and they don't, somehow we don't do well as a society of getting out what all of these people can do. I think there's a disconnect in what we're able to do and what people need. So that's my spiel. Thank you.
Wayne, thank you for being here this evening. Good evening.
Good evening. Terry Babin, 1856 North 10th Street here in Washougal. Also a member of the City Strategic Planning Advisory Committee. I just wanted to answer a question of the council, and that was what services are available for adults with intellectual disabilities. And I can't tell you a lot because I'm not representing these organizations, but Innovative Services as well as ARC of Clark County both have a lot of programs for adults with intellectual disabilities. Quick case in point, I have a stepdaughter that through Innovative Services received training on how to do a job search, how to interview for a job, how to understand things like company policy, employee's handbook, basic things like her statement and her taxes. So they do some really practical work. So I think those are two areas that you can investigate.
Good, thank you so much.
Thank you, Terry. Mrs. Terrell, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. I'm Marilyn Tyrrell from 950 G Street in Washougal. I'm speaking to you, not them, right now. I've been collecting notes. First of all, Councilman Greenlee talked about it being difficult to find the people who need these services. I think if you found a way to present it with a neutral name, and in other words, don't come to so-and-so church because maybe I don't like to go to church or I'm worried about church people, but if it had some sort of neutral name in place where they could go and get the services without obligating themselves, that they would be more inclined to. For example, I'm a Kaiser member. Kaiser puts a note in the bathrooms that say to women, if they're abused, this is the number to call. They don't have to go out in public and do anything. They can go home and write, answer this. There was another thing about that I wanted to tell you about. Anyway, Mr. English was talking about the unions and getting things done. I'm a member, our church, our Unitarian Universalist Church of Vancouver, we adopt a highway. Now, people work for the state, they're all union members, but they let us go clean up the highway. E Street needs cleaning up. We need a group to go out and work on E Street. There's a lovely berm, what did you call swale? There's a lovely swale there filled with plants. And I started to pick up the junk when I walked my dog. There was so much junk I would have needed a wagon. Somebody should be going out and put a note in the Post Record. Gather together on so-and-so a day and come and we're gonna clean up E Street. Very simple, no big deal. On our church, half of our cash donation every Sunday goes to another service not having to do with our church. We gave money to our local school for the principal, and I forget how many, several $1,000s, and he had that money to buy shoes or food for kids or pencils or whatever it was they needed. He had that money available to him, and you know darn well, they don't have any money. The only way they're gonna get any is that. Or we sell our ministers' sermons, and that goes into the poor box. So when people come to him, people put money in the poor box to pay for the sermons, and they have that. You wanna know how to look after seniors? Our Commissioner, Mark Bolt, had a series of meetings last year. For weeks we went. I think it was 8 different meetings once a month. It was wonderful. We talked about everything that seniors need in Clark County, and you can get that report on their website. It's called Aging in Clark County. Our group at church adopted a room for share house. We have all, various members of us have contracted to bring sheets and towels and blah, 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 whatever it is, and when these people get their home, they're going to be able to take all that stuff with them and have their home set up. If you're looking for children who are poor, you know that the kids at the schools who are getting meals free obviously are poor. That's very simple. Let me see now. Camas Washougal Community Garden Club, we support students in horticulture. We don't have any students applying. There's something wrong. Kids don't want that. I wanted to go on another negative side of this. I am a low-income person, and I get free cat and dog food from the Humane Society. I went yesterday, and she wouldn't give me free food because now I have to prove my income. And I said, somebody's been cheating, and she said, a lot of people have been cheating. If you are giving things away free, I hate to be the poor speaker, but you better make sure that the people you're giving them to are the ones who need it. At church, we plant an extra row all summer long. We bring it to church, we sell it to each other, and the money goes to the poor box. There's lots of things you can do. I'm not too keen about using the website. A lot of seniors don't have a computer, that costs money, or a skill, and they don't know how to use a website. So that's kind of iffy in my view. Human Services Council has a coordinator for information and referral. All you do is have to call the phone number and say, I can't get into my house, I need someone to build a ramp, and they will send you someone to build your ramp. So these are things that you could be doing for them. And as a last point, I want to present myself. I am small, I'm old, I'm weak, I have a large garden, and I need help. And I got help 2 weeks ago, and I need some more because it keeps growing. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Marilyn.
I'm Sandy Allen, and I'm one of the Friends of the Library. I just want to invite everybody to come see what Chris has done in the library over there. They have new carpet. They're trying to make it as nice as they can. They've painted it. It looks wonderful. And if you don't have a Washougal library card, shame on you. If you're going down to Camas and you don't frequent this library, then the numbers for this library don't look as good. And so therefore, they don't get the funds from the Fort Vancouver Regional Foundation to help it with a bigger library. So please, tell everybody, come to this library, get their library card. You can go online and order a book and just pick it up right here. And it's a wonderful opportunity to help us. That's what I wanted to say.
When we go online and order a book and we have it delivered to Washougal, do they get the credit? Or does it have to do with where we applied? I'm not sure exactly what you were saying, because I have a card for the Fort Vancouver Regional Library, which takes them all in. So how does Washougal get credit when I do something online?
Maybe Chris can answer that. She's a librarian.
Picking it up and using the services there, then that shows up in our statistics
Okay.
as though we are serving our community rather than our community going elsewhere. So we're trying to.
It's an amazing service. You can just find it on the website and it just comes right to my little neighborhood library. I said little, see right there? It's little.
It's little.
We gotta fix that.
I'm glad she still has a sense of humor about that, because it's little.
It just came out. It's not a put down.
Hi, I'm Mark McGuire, pastor of First Christian Church in Camas. About half of our folks come from Washougal. I also am executive director for the Community Pregnancy Clinic, which is also in Camas, but serves both Camas and Washougal and part of Skamania County. I live in Skamania County. You need my address specifically?
No, you're fine.
Okay. And I just wanted to familiarize you with part of what we do at the Community Pregnancy Clinic, which is give away diapers, baby food formula, and baby clothes. We're kind of a specialist. We don't absolutely just give it to anybody that walks through the door. We actually require them to do some kind of motherhood or parenthood training. We have a video-driven library of training on everything from personal finance to nutrition, a number of wonderful things at disciplining children, prenatal health, etc. So the clients can watch a video, fill out a worksheet, and then they get a chit or a card to go purchase things in our store. It's basically free. But we're also trying to break the cycle of dysfunction by doing training. So we deal with a lot of teen moms and very young moms. But the other thing that I wanted to say is I'm part of this pastors group, and one of our goals is to become more intentional about serving the community. So as you can see, this has been great for me because I've not even heard of some of the nonprofits and services. So I want to thank you as a council and Mayor Gard for doing this, because it heightens awareness for all of us, and we do a lot of cross-referral. And we want to be more intentional as a group. Now, we are separate churches. There's about 46 churches in Camas and Washougal. I deal with a lot of them from time to time. But our group is still small, and we're independent churches. And so what we really need, what we would hope from you is potentially a liaison to the city council or to social services, or however you want to do that, we will be more intentional by putting a lot of our abilities and programs on paper for you, or in a computer file. That's the same thing to me, but, and then we just look forward, we thank you for the opportunity to be here, and we look forward to working with you. We're very community driven. We're crossing, obviously, as you can see, we're crossing the boundaries of denomination. We don't have a joint agenda other than to serve. And so hopefully we'll be able to do that with you, and if there's any way we can help you better, here we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. Any other folks? Council?
I had just a couple of, I don't know whether to call them thoughts or questions. I have to admit that I wasn't much of a scout as a teenager, but it strikes me that if we're talking about middle school age kids, that the things that pop immediately into my mind are Little League and scouting. And on the other hand, the next thought that pops into my mind is, my goodness, what a short list. And so I don't have a sense of how large the scouting community is here and how effective it is at reaching kids. Of course, there's the additional problem that Boy Scouts are Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts are Girl Scouts, so that they don't really mix that much.
I don't think that's true anymore, is it?
There are Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts.
Touche.
And they don't mix.
Touche.
And so, yeah, I seem to remember some rather public fights over the issue. But I was just wondering if anybody has any other kind of comments about scouting or Little League or athletic programs or anything else that's going on that we might know about or help with, or?
Well, I have to say, it's interesting when I don't even know how this happened, but a gentleman came up to me in the lobby of church a couple of weeks ago, and he said, I'm a fisherman, and I want to teach kids how to fish. People have so many talents and hobbies, camping, sports, scouts, fishing. It's just being creative enough to get out and do it. So that's just one thing I ran across, and I thought maybe he could take me fishing because I haven't been too successful yet. I have my license if anybody, huh?
You want to go catching?
I want to go catching. Oh, is that the difference? I never knew that.
Yeah, I can speak just a little bit about scouting, since I am a co-leader of Girl Scout troop. Unfortunately, middle school is right about the time that you lose them. They start real small in the brownies and actually daisies, and then they go on to brownies and juniors and Girl Scouting. But they get interested in other things when they get older. So it is unfortunate. But
It's the Boy Scouts they got interested in. The girls got interested in the Boy Scouts. And the Boy Scouts got interested in the Girl Scouts.
See, that's where I got that.
That's where you're hanging out there.
Well, for example, the Eagle Scout program goes on to.
it does.
age
And you do have
15 at least, so-
your I mean, as long as you've got a dedicated troop leader and dedicated scouts who are, really into the program, they will go on, like as you say, and go on through the higher ranks. But I'd say 90% or more are starting to find other interests.
Is there a female version of Eagle Scouts?
It just goes into Girl Scouts. So there's like junior and senior level, but we don't have the Eagle.
Because I know, I'll answer a couple of your questions. The Eagles, Boy Scouts goes to 18.
Huh?
Venture Scouts, which is a new program that kind of parallels Explorer Scouts, goes to 21, and it is co-ed. It starts at 15 and goes to 21. We have a really strong Boy Scout program in the Camas-Washougal area. Nothing like it was in the 40s and 50s. But we have I'm gonna say, I know of 6 troops in the Camas Washougal area. We have a Cub Scout group, which is primary grades at nearly every grade school around in the Washougal area. So it's strong and healthy. And but what I was gonna suggest actually is you know, if we had a strong summer program somehow put together, I know that if we had a list of needs to help put that program together, for instance, people with specialties who would be willing to do some work during the summer, if you could pass something like that to us, we could give you names, and I'm sure Camas has a huge summer Parks and Rec program, and I know a lot of the people that do a lot of the specialty classes, and you know, we could do that somewhere here in Washougal if it's something on your agenda. So.
Thank you.
Cool.
I have one question, for the gentleman.
Mark?
Mark, I'm sorry. Did the Boy Scouts meet in the summertime? Because the
Yes,
girl
Boy
troops.
Scouts
Oh,
goes
they don't
year-round. Now, some of the troops will take part of the summer off, but they generally do their long-term camp and/or, let's say, a backpacking trip in the summer.
50-milers.
Most of them do both. A lot of them do both, I should say, but almost all of them go
great.
to summer camp for a week. And but Cub Scouts shuts down with the school year. The venture crews can choose, kind of like exploring used to be, they choose a focus area for a particular group. And they can be a vocational pursuit, or they can be sort of an extension of what Boy Scouts was, high adventure, outdoor adventure. And each individual group chooses what, and they go year-round.
Thank you.
I'm going to back up what he said. I don't usually agree with you all the time, Paul, but I agree with you this time on Boy Scouts. Boy Scouts is a great program. I've got 3 boys. I got 3 Eagle Scouts. The reason I got involved in scouting is because of what happened to me back in the 60s. I ran into crooked attorneys and crooked judges. I couldn't believe what was happening to me then, so I got my kids involved in scouting, and the country's gotten worse instead of better. So that's one reason but it's a great program. It's got all kinds of merit badges. The kids don't know what to do. A lot of these kids, they need help. And these merit badges, they give them an idea of what they want to be when they want to grow up, whether they're scientists or astronauts or pilots or whatever. It finds their thing. If you have any boys or anybody in the audience has any boys here, I strongly recommend Boy Scouts, believe me. And even if they don't make Eagle, they get something out of Boy Scouts, believe me. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, I was just gonna briefly mention what I think is going on with scouting and like the Little Leagues and stuff around here.
Could we get your name and address for the
My name is Jeff
record?
Guard, 4105 Gifford Place, Washougal. I think what's happened is it's just society, period, you know. Scouting, for example, it used to be big because you didn't have anything else to do. So there was a lot of that going on. There was tons of scout troops in Camas, Washougal when I grew up. Pac 565.
Yep.
And anyway, you know, you just don't see kids as interested anymore. Now I've got the internet, I've got TV, I've got everything else. They got all kinds of distractions, single parents, latchkey kids, and that's a lot of what is doing that. I'm fortunate. My grandsons are still in scouting. One of them's 11, just getting ready to go on his first backpacking trip. The other one's 22. He's in his first tour in Afghanistan right now, and he took all those skills with him. Thank goodness. Baseball, I think it's kind of the same way. There's just too many distractions out there. Now anymore, if you're a good ASA softball pitcher and you're a freshman or sophomore in high school, you're being pressured to focus on that and spend 6 or 7 months of the year and traveling all the time on softball. I can't do scouting, I can't go play soccer, I can't go do the things I want to do. So I think it's our fault. You know, we made it that way, and so be it. So, and I'll be interested when you have public comments.
Anything else from the public? Any folks who haven't had a chance yet?
Public comments on what went on tonight?
Sure.
When I first read the paper, and of course on the blogs, and all the sniper fire started about that time, I was a little concerned, calling something faith-based, and then it kind of morphed into nonprofits, but if you sit and listen and took notes, I know Marilyn did tonight, we heard from fraternal organizations, service organizations, nonprofits, the schools, social services building, the businesses. You know, you can pull other people in the chamber, historical society, your senior center spoke up. By the way, it's a community center, not a senior center, but who's to argue? But I think you got a great opportunity here. I don't agree with how this all came up, but it did come up. So let's take advantage of this. You got some great momentum going here. You got great people here. There's a ton going on that you don't even know about. We don't even know about. So let's start pulling the other players in and do it right. And yeah, the city does need to take control and kind of be the steering wheel to make that happen. I too had to agree with Councilman Greenlee on something. I was writing it down as he was saying it. I hate to admit it, but there is a ton of need for resources and there's a higher need for coordination. Everybody's trying to do the same thing. And you know, the old cliche, strength in numbers. So we need to, again, think about those partnerships, and you want to call it something other than what we've been calling it, call it people-based, because that's what it is. It's all about people. It's all about the community. So just to respond to a couple other things. I've heard a couple comments about too many drugs and alcohol problems in this community. Well, I hate to tell you, it's been going on for over 40 years in this community. I've been in this community over that long. There's been a lot of that going on for years. And you've had organizations that stepped up, tried to do something, and they were ignored and they weren't supported. There was a mayor that used to sit up there and all but give Jeff Miller the finger when he came here from the RIP organization, trying to keep things going. And that was RIP, Recovery Invites Progress and Promise. They were totally 100% for the kids. No drugs, no alcohol, you attend our events. Work great, no support. So that's got to turn around a little bit. And the last comment is website versus printing. As a member of a family that's been in the community with a printing business for over 67 years, don't just go website. But I do agree, you know, you need to get every piece of media you can to get the attention, and I strongly encourage you to. This is just the kickoff. You can take this a lot further. Everybody in this room could take this a lot further. So please, don't let it end here. Good start, good job. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff. Any other items from the public side? Okay, I have nothing more to add at the moment. I will after council gets done, but council comments, council thoughts?
I just wanted to agree with Jeff and underline what he said, that it's my deep and sincere hope that this is the beginning of a conversation and that we can work together however we can to coordinate, to be more effective in somehow in bringing a community together. There's this wonderfully archaic old word about husbandry, whether it's talking about farming or bringing together a community. And I hope that this is the beginning of that, and that we can cultivate these relationships and somehow be more effective in what we all want, which is a better community. Thank you. Thank you all for coming.
Joyce?
I want to thank you all for coming and bringing your services to our attention, because I think it's very exciting. I think that this can make a difference in our community on every level. And I do want to mention, I just finished a program. It was for the 5th grade girls at Hathaway School, and that was sponsored by the Rotary, Camas-Washougal Rotary. And that was a marvelous program, and it changed not only the girls, but those of us that mentored. And we will be doing that again next year for 5th grade girls at Hathaway, and we're going to be starting a 5th grade boys program at Hathaway. Now, it's only 9 weeks, but it did make an impact, and so that's a start. And I personally think every school, every grade school should have one of those programs for their 5th grade kids. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Joyce, you might want to say what the program is. You didn't tell us what it was.
Young Women in Action. But when the boys become it,
it's
we'll have
etiquette,
to change
isn't it?
that
Etiquette.
way.
It's etiquette and
Oh, yes, it was
behaviors
etiquette and manners.
Manners.
And I think one of the most important things was there was a week we spent on how to be a friend. What is a friend? What do you want as a friend? And how do you be a good friend? That was the first week, and that started changing the dynamics of the girls. It was, and then they went to a beauty school and had their hair done, and then we did a hula hoop session on exercise, which was the hit, because they all could hula hoop. It's a great program, and I think that as we bring that back, it could be expanded in ways in our community.
Just a thank you to everyone. I know it's a weeknight, it's late, and we're tired, but appreciate your effort, everyone.
Yes, I second that.
David?
Just a brief comment. I wanted to thank everybody that came here tonight. All the people who work in faith-based and nonprofit organizations and contribute to the charitable effort in our community, I applaud your efforts. I'm glad you came here tonight. I think this is a wonderful initiative. I think that this effort is where it belongs. It's in the community. It's not something that government does well. And to the extent that we can assist your efforts, I think that's a good idea. But I think it is yours to run with, and we will try to clear the roadblocks for you. But I really applaud your coming here tonight to kick this off and get it started. And I thank you for the work you've already done and are doing in our community. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Dave?
Thank everyone for coming out this evening.
I very much want to echo all the sentiments of the council members who have spoken. I think this is a tremendous start. I've heard a lot of things this evening. I'm willing to stay another hour. I'm actually kind of jazzed.
Yeah,
I like this
yeah.
stuff. I had an opportunity a few months ago to talk with Mayor Higgins when we were in the car headed somewhere. And as many of you know, not only is he Mayor Higgins, he's also Pastor Higgins. And we were talking about needs in the community and, you know, really what more can we do as two communities that are truly one and those types of things when it comes to some of the issues that we see on a daily basis. And one of the things that we arrived at, and I hear it as kind of a common theme this evening as well, is that while we would wish to believe that we don't have a lot of the issues that the greater county has or that the Portland metropolitan area has, in fact, we do. We have folks who are homeless. We have folks who are in need. We have folks who are, some of them in unfortunate times, some of them in desperate times. And one of the things that every once in a while will be visited here at City Hall from folks from a county program, that type of thing, that try and put things together, but that we truly don't have a coordination of the efforts here in East County for East County. And I kind of heard that this evening through a number of different speakers of we have different things, but we don't know that you've got these other ones and things back and forth. And I'm almost reminded of good old Strother Martin. What we have here is a failure to communicate. And I'm going to suggest from an administrative level that, one, that this certainly not be the last of these meetings. Two, all of you that are still left here this evening, if you could, before you leave, I know we've got plenty of scratch paper, different things up here for lack of anything else. If we could, make sure and get your contact information, the organization you're with, that type of stuff, and get those to Rose right up here. Rose is going to become the keeper of those for the moment, and we'll start trying to put together a good contact list, at least of the folks who are here, and then start reaching out to you for some of the other information. But where I think I want to take this, and certainly will be a discussion at the council level as well, I think last year some of our staff learned very well how to utilize an intern here and there for some specific tasks that we had in relation to strategic planning. I'm not so sure that I don't want to have us do an outreach to find an intern that can become part of our support of your all efforts in trying to create those resource books, those resource notebooks. Quite frankly, we need them at the fire department, we need them at the police department, we need them at our front desk. I would imagine there's got to be a lot of conversation about how that comes about, what's listed in that, and that type of thing, because as you know, whichever of you comes alphabetically first are probably going to get an abnormal number of calls to the rest. So whether we shuffle the deck every once in a while, whether we do something, I'm not sure how that would play out. But I think we could probably assist in the short term, at least being that cog in the middle of it. And while I've been famous about saying government needs to get out of our own way and out of your way, maybe this is an instance where we need to get in the middle of it a little bit and do what we can do appropriately from a city level to further those efforts that you all have. Clearly, there is a ton of work being done in our community. There's a ton of work that could probably still be done even further. We just need to connect the two. And I have a feeling we've got some awfully intelligent people in this room, and a lot of them who probably weren't here tonight, who can help us make those connections and figure out how we can do it. And you know what? We may not get it right, but for those folks that we touch, for those folks that we help, for however long it's together, it is going to be infinitely more than what it is today. So again, my thanks for you being here, and we will follow this up both on a council level, a staff level, and certainly from a community level as well. Any other items from council? I would entertain a motion for adjournment. I've got a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We are adjourned. Thank you all.